Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together, please. Om Jnana Timarandasya Ganandana Salatkaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padang Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Govika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapcha Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Brindavanishwari Vrishabhana Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary Srila Prabhupada. Today is verse number 7 of the 3rd chapter, Karma Yoga. So, please repeat. Yastvindriyāṇi manasā niyamyārabhate Arjuna karmendriyaiḥ karma-yogam asaktaḥ viśiṣyate Yastvindriyāṇi manasā niyamyārabhate rjuna karmendriyaiḥ karma-yogam asaktaḥ karmendriyaiḥ karma-yogam asaktaḥ viśiṣyate. Okay, please repeat. Yaha, one who, two, but, indriyāṇi, the senses, manasā, by the mind, niyamya, regulating, ārabhate, begins, Arjuna, O Arjuna, karma-indriyaiḥ, by the active sense organs, karma-yogam, devotion, asaktaḥ, without attachment, saha, he, viśiṣyate, is by far the better. Translation Srila Prabhupada. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga, action in Krishna consciousness, without attachment, he is by far superior. Please repeat. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the mind and the active senses by the mind, and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. So, purport Srila Prabhupada. Instead of becoming a pseudo transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living and sense enjoyment, it is far better to remain in one's own business and execute the purpose of life, which is to get free from material bondage and enter into the kingdom of God. The prime svārtha-gati, or goal of self-interest, is to reach Viṣiṣyate. The whole institution of varṇa and āśrama is designed to help us reach this goal of life. A householder can also reach this destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. For self-realization, one can live a controlled life as prescribed in the śāstras and continue carrying out his business without attachment, and in that way make progress. A sincere person who follows this method is far better situated than a false pretender who adopts show bottle spiritualism to cheat the innocent public. A sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. Makam karochi vachalam bhangam laite grim yad kripa tamaham vande Shri Guru dinatarinam. Yastvindriyāṇi manasā niyamyārabhate rjuna. Karmendriyaiḥ karma-yogam asaktaḥ viśiṣyate. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma-yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. Yes. So, karma-yoga. What is karma? What is yoga? Yoga means union plus connection. So, karma also has many meanings, but the root meaning we can say is work. So through one's work, one can have union with Krishna. That is the idea. And through that, as Prabhupada explains in the Purport, one can attain perfection. But in itself, that is the first step. This is performing, there is one sloka, 413, Chaturvarna maya shishtam guna karma vibhagasha. So Krishna explains that the four varnas, they're created by me. What are those four varnas? Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So the Brahmana, the true Brahmana, is a knower of Brahman. Brahmana janati Brahman. That he has attained tattvadarshan. He knows the absolute truth directly. So he is the most advanced person. Then Kshatriya. Kshatriya means one who delivers from hurt. Kshatriya. And then the Vaishya, they are business oriented. Krishi go raksha vanijam. And then the Shudra. The Shudra generally just wants to be engaged. Maybe by the Vaishya, maybe by the Kshatriya, maybe by the Brahmana. So, one may consider, I'm doing my work and therefore I'll be liberated. But actually, the real point is that one should be adopting seva bhav, the mood of service. If we pursue our karmic tendency, Krishna explains, guna karma vibhagasha. We have all acquired, due to our past activities, a certain mixture of the gunas, the material gunas, raja, sattva, tama. The Brahmana is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness. And as he realizes Brahman, he becomes Vishuddha Atma. He becomes purified. He reaches Turiya, the fourth state of consciousness above the modes. The Kshatriya is in the mode of passion, Ishvara Bhav. He wants to control, he wants to administrate, he wants to... So he is meant to be restrained by taking advice from the Brahmana. This is the social system made by Krishna. And then the Vaishya is not so much concerned about philosophical matters, he's concerned about profit through Krishi, farming, Gauraksha, and trading, Vanijam. And the Shudra, he serves the other three classes. So if the society is formatted, led by the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas to serve the Supreme Lord, everyone can advance. So this comes under Pada Sevanam. In previous classes, we've been discussing Smaranam, how one can withdraw the consciousness from the external paraphernalia and from the body and from the mind and become situated in the Atma, the self. And then through bhakti, priti purvakam, affectionate feeling, one can become situated in Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So this is Smaranam. If Smaranam is performed priti purvakam, with affection, then one will lose the material propensities to karma. In the teachings of Lord Rishabdev, there is a very important verse. They're all very important, but on this particular subject, when the living entity is covered by the mode of ignorance, he does not understand the individual living being, that means the soul, and the supreme living being, that means Krishna. And his mind is subjugated to fruitive activity. So, conversely, if you don't understand the Supreme Lord and you don't understand his expansion, the living entity, then naturally your mind will go to fruitive activity when you're encased in this material body, whether you are a so-called Brahmin, a Kshatriya, or a Vaishya, or a Shudra. So conversely, if you are realized in the Supreme Lord and his expansion, the living entity, then you will become naturally free of karma. So it is not a matter of mental adoption, it is a matter of natural bhava. Nitya siddha Krishna prem sadhaka banai shravanadi sudachitte karide udai. So Krishna prem is naturally within the heart, but through hearing and chanting about the Supreme Lord, then this seva bhav awakens. So of course, recommended in Kali Yuga is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Just like we were discussing a few weeks ago, Smaranam, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. So one can, once one has fixed one's consciousness in priti purvakam upon the Supreme Lord, then one can perform japa. One can perform manasik japa. There are 4 different types of japa. One is sankirtan. That is when devotees get together and they chant, 4 kinds of kirtan, and they chant congregationally. Then there is kirtan, where one chants on one's own, but he's audibly chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Then there is upamants. Upamants means the person is chanting quietly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Now that is necessary, because if we want to chant 1 lakh name or 2 lakh name in a day, you cannot physically perform loud chanting for so long. So naturally you will become more internal. Therefore, if one wants to perform, say on Ekadashi, a lot of chanting, 1 lakh at least, one can perform Sankirtan at Mangalarti and then through Japa period. But then the 4th kind of chanting is manasik. It means chanting within the mind, within the consciousness. So this chanting should be accompanied by anukulyena Krishna nu. The meditation on Krishna, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, is very pleasurable and therefore easy to maintain if one is developing rasa. And rasa will be there by the reciprocation of the Supreme Lord. Krishna is rasava saha. He is the source of all rasa. In the Dasamula Tattva, 3 items, mulas, are given for Krishna. First mula is Ishvara Parama Krishna. He is the creator. He is the Ishvara. Second one is Sarva-shakti. He is the possessor of an unlimited array of potencies. Unlimited in variety and unlimited in potency. And the third one is Rasavasaha. So we see in the creation, and we see in people's reaction to the creation, sometimes the scientist, the atheistic, materialistic scientist, he is fixed on the Shakti. He wants to take the material elements and analyze them mathematically. But then there is another kind of person, the musician, the poet, the Muni, who is discussing the rasa of the material world. He's writing love songs, or he's writing blues songs, or he's painting beautiful paintings, and he's trying to convey the emotion of the moment, the rasa. So even in the material world, we see the potencies, and the rasa is attracting the living entity. But the living entity, without knowledge of the Supreme Lord, without knowledge, just sees that without connection to the Supreme Lord. So the amount of rasa he can glean from the material world is very paltry. Here we see that if the Supreme Lord is understood and the living entity is understood, then he will naturally develop bhakti bhav. He will not perform his natural proclivity for activity, whether it is Shudra, Vaishya, or Kshatriya, or Brahmana, for a selfish goal, because that is karma. But he will perform his duties as an offering to the Supreme Lord. But he must understand, this is the primary point, he must, as this sloka explains, he must understand that Supreme Lord. And he must understand the living entity through Shravanam. Then Pada Sevanam, the Seva Bhav of his life, will be offered to Krishna. So, Krishna explains this in the Chaturshloki, right? Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartite. That I am the source of everything material and spiritual. Everything emanates from me. Those who know this, iti matva bhajanti mam, what do? They perform bhajan. They don't perform karma. That means selfish exploitation of the material elements, or selfish exploitation of the material rasa, in forgetfulness of the Param Ishvara. No, they perform their activities as an offering to me. That's also there in the Gita. Krishna says to Arjuna, I'm going to tell you the big secret now, Arjuna. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madjaji mam namaskaro. Manmana, like we're explaining in our classes on Smaranam and chanting during Smaranam, manasik japa, the goal of yoga is to fix the consciousness on Krishna. It is not that one is just doing his activities. He is doing those activities as an offering, madhyaji, manmana bhavamadakto, with a devotional mood. Iti matva bhajanti mam bhuta bhava samanvita. And then Krishna explains, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam. To those that are always connected me, how? Through pritipurvakam. The connection with Krishna is through that loving emotion. So, karma yoga is performed, Vaidhi bhakti is performed, the preliminary practice of bhakti is performed, but the sadhaka understands that the goal of my sadhana is the development of pritipurvakam, anukulyena. It is a transformation of consciousness. It is not just performing activities in a routine, regulated way, but internally it is a matter of sevabhav. It is a matter of offering them to Krishna through love and affection, pritipurvakam. So this point must be understood, because this is the final fulfillment of the living entity. In the spiritual world, or the liberated soul, he acts out of loving affection for Krishna and his devotees. And he gets the love and affection of Krishna and his devotees as reciprocation. 4:11, right? That's before Chatur Varnam. Yeyatam mam prapadyante tamstaiva bhajamiyaham. All of them, as they surrender, I reciprocate, I reward accordingly. So if you perform your material duties, your karma, if you've not come to the stage of Lord Rishabdev, who's gone to the forest, he's instructing his sons before he goes to the forest. In the 13th chapter of the Gita, two of the items of knowledge are detachment from the general mass of people and retiring to a solitary place. Lord Rishabdev is giving that example so that he can now perfect his bhajan. But we should not do that artificially at the beginning, but we should perform our karma, and within that natural proclivities, we should keep an eye. Am I performing my activities with pritipurvakam? And this is natural for the living entity. Krishna explains in the Gita, aham bija pitaha. I am the seed-giving father. So in the material world, people are naturally loving towards their parents. Of course, it's Kali Yuga, but good parents and a good son, properly conceived, they will have a natural affection. So we can begin our pritipurvakam with this idea. Krishna also says, mama angsa. The living entity is mama angsa, mavai angsa jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana. That we are part and parcel of Krishna. Lord Rishabdev says, if you don't understand the living entity and the Supreme Lord, you will be subjugated by karmic mood. Because you're not finding in your heart realization of the beautiful Supreme Lord, Krishna, who is full of bliss, full of affection, full of love for his created living entities, then you are just going to focus on getting pleasure in the material world. So the first step of bhakti is to realize Krishna through pritipurvakam. And as Krishna explains in the other verses here to Arjuna, he said, you just renouncing material life, Arjuna, that is faulty consciousness. That is the beginning of the chapter. You are telling me to perform my karma, and then you're also telling me to perform buddhi yoga. bhakti sadhana. So, because of his lack of knowledge, he's seeing a division between his work as a kshatriya, his duty on the battlefield, and his and spiritual practice. And if you remember, a few weeks ago, there was one gentleman, at the end of the class, he said, how can we find the proper balance? Do you remember that a few weeks ago? One gentleman said, that's very nice, you're talking about smaranam, remembering Krishna, but how can I find the proper balance? Meaning, I'm a grihasta, I have my family, I have my job, my business, whatever. So people are thinking, yes, I'm going to do bhakti sadhana, and that is spiritual life, and then I'm also going to look after my family and perform my job, and that is material life. And I have to balance the two. But the point is that Krishna is conveying to us, through Arjuna, is that everything can be spiritual life. If we have the bhava, if we have the rag, the attraction, if we have the rati, if we have the attachment to the Supreme Lord, and that will naturally flower as we realize the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Bhagavatam, the sages in Naimisharanya, they asked, now that Supreme Lord has gone to his abode, where is Dharma? Where is knowledge? Where is morality? Paranaka dunodita. So, people will get light from the Srimad Bhagavatam, because the Srimad Bhagavatam is constructed to teach us that Supreme Lord, to teach us an understanding, an approach to the Supreme Lord. And then our consciousness will naturally develop Nityasiddha Krishna Prem. Shravanadi, by hearing and chanting, that means Shravanadi mean, and the other practices of bhakti, one will develop Seva Bhav. And then the Krishna Prem will arise. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, Arjuna, don't think that bhakti sadhana, bhakti yoga, or buddhi yoga, we explained this last week, right? Buddhi yoga is bhakti, but it is bhakti that is propelled by the intelligence, not necessarily through Krishna Prem, but through a philosophical understanding. So in the accomplished stage of bhakti, one will be impelled or activated by bhava. Buddhi yoga means I'm impelled by sambandha jnana, by knowledge. And then I can see this material world is faulty. I'm going to practice spiritual life. So when this understanding is there, and one is cultivating Seva Bhav, then one will naturally realize the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord will reciprocate. And therefore I often say that realization and darshan of Krishna is not just for Dhruva Maharaj in the Bhagavatam. It is not just for Prahlad Maharaj. It is not just for Ajamil. It is for us. It is not just for the Pandavas. It is not just for Narada Muni. It is for us. We are made to reciprocate with the Supreme Lord. Mama Angsa. Angsa means we are, just like this thumb is part of my body. So we are, yes, Vibhinangsa, separated part, but we are also part of the Supreme Lord. We are part of the Absolute Truth. We are part of Krishna. We are the expansion of Krishna. So that you can read 11th verse in the Brahma Samhita. So everything is there inbuilt to the soul. The Swarup is in seed form within the soul. Krishna Prem is in seed form within the soul, but it is awoken by Seva Bhav and Priti Purvakam, by this loving attitude. So at the beginning of bhakti, we don't have Krishna Prem fully developed. We have attraction, rag. Then rag will become rati, attachment. And then attachment will become bhava. And then bhava will become prem. So one should understand abhideya. One should understand the process. And at the beginning here, Krishna is explaining Arjuna that you don't have to think this is material life and this is spiritual life. And that I have been saying, go to the forest, Arjuna. No, do your duty as a Kshatriya, Arjuna. And that there's a division. Because being part of the absolute truth, being pure spirit souls, everything about our existence should be spiritual. Everything, at every moment. Just like we get up in the morning, we take bath. Why are we taking bath? So we can chant nicely. So it is an offering, majjaji. Why are we chanting? For our own elevation? No, for the pleasure of Krishna. It is an offering to Krishna. In the 10th chapter of the Gita, Krishna explains, Yajnanam japa. Of yagyas, the greatest yagya is japa, to chant. So we are chanting for the pleasure of Krishna. The material life is for our pleasure. And this is why we're entrapped. But here Lord Rishabdev tells his sons that tendency, he said, if you remember, the consciousness is subjugated to material activity. So, I'll repeat it. When the living entity is covered by ignorance, he does not understand the individual living being and the supreme living being, and his mind is subjugated to fruitive activity. So, this is very nicely put. When we don't know Krishna, when we don't have bhava, we don't have prem for Krishna, our consciousness is subjugated. Subjugated is a very important word. What does subjugate mean? It is suppressed. It is pushed down like a tyrant. He suppresses the people. Whereas the real Kshatriya and Brahmanas, they liberate the people. So, if we're in ignorance of Krishna, we become pushed down. Our consciousness becomes constricted. So the second part of the verse, therefore, until one has love for Lord Vasudeva, who is none other than myself, Lord Rishabdev is Shaktivesh Avatar. Myself, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept a material body again and again. So if you perform karma, you remain in the material world. If you perform karma-yoga, then you are on the path to full liberation. And the full liberation is to develop Swarup Siddhi. It means to awaken the soul. So after the Smaranam, the fourth item of bhakti sadhana, bhakti practice is what? Pada Sevanam. So Pada Sevanam is one. It is service to Krishna. But it stresses those material steps. For Pada Sevanam can be performed with griha, with our material paraphernalia. For example, we may have some land. We give it to a proper sadhu and he constructs the temple. We may have some cash in the pocket, so we think every week I'm going to give 1,000 rupees to the deity. We're giving our material paraphernalia. And then we have the body, material body. So then we may think like the Matajis. I'm going to make beautiful garlands for Krishna. I'm using my hands. Another person may think, I'm going to sweep the temple every day for 10 minutes. So they're using the body. And then there's manak padasevanam. Within the consciousness, within the mind, one is performing smaranam and offering to Krishna. Like in the Nectar of Devotion, that Brahmana, he took bath in the Ganga, and within his mind he was offering sweet rice to Krishna. He was not very wealthy man. So after bathing, purifying in the Ganga, I'm cooking, I'm making sweet rice, I'm offering to Krishna. And, oh, I shouldn't offer when it's too hot. So he put his finger in his mind in the sweet rice. Oh, I burnt myself, it's too hot. So in the spiritual world, Narayan, Lakshmi, they were saying, look at this. He's so immersed in his smaranam, that his padasevanam, that he's burning his finger. So they brought him immediately to Vaikuntha. And then there is a padasevanam, like we sing every day, 6th verse, Nikunja yono ratikeli siddhai. So the Siddha Bhakta, whose Swarup is fully manifest, his spiritual form, he serves within Golok Vrindavan. And there are many stories in the Rasa Shastra, the Goswami literatures, about devotees. They are situated in this world, but then they have some work or some activity, and they go to the spiritual world and serve and inquire from Krishna in transcendence. So they are all padasevanam, and ultimately they are one, because they are performed with consciousness. Prabhupada said the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So always remember this, that in the center of all our activities is our consciousness, which is the emanation from ourselves. When we don't have pritipurvakam, loving attitude towards Krishna, then we tend to act out of selfishness, and we get a karmic reaction. Yeyatam mam prapadyante. So we're all sadhakas. We want to develop this pritipurvakam, loving attitude in the center of all our activities. Just as an offering. And therefore all these statements by Krishna about being free of attachment, surrendering all your works to me, means that you perform them as an offering, madhyaji, mam namaskaru, with humility to the Supreme Lord. So karma yoga is very important, because unless we are in this state of swarup, what is that sloka? Jivera Nichera Krishna Das. So the natural form of the soul is Krishna Das. But we may not have awoken the Swarup yet. That is Siddha Bhakta. So we are now acting through this material body with attachment to this body. How we can free ourselves from the karmic effect of using this body is by performing all our bodily activities as an offering to the Supreme Lord. So we explain that in the Nectar of Instruction. Krishna gives 6 items. Rupa Goswami. The last 2 are sato vrite. Our activities should be pure. We can't be a bank robber for Krishna. We can't be a criminal. We can't be a doctor giving poisonous medicine to people. We have to be pious in our activity. And then tat karma pravartanat. We should perform our activities in a regulated fashion. So therefore Prabhupada has formulated the 4 regulative principles. So we perform pious or pure activity in a regulated way. But the most important point is that what are we doing it for? Because in the center of that, we want to offer our activities with priti purvakam. Tesha satata yuktanam bhajitam priti purvakam. So Krishna explaining there that union with him is through priti purvakam. In the material world, there's no priti purvakam. People are ignorant of the Supreme Lord and the living entity. So they are acting on the material platform, and they are returning to material life at the end of this body. But the devotee, he is developing his relationship with Krishna. And that is developed by practicing priti purvakam, loving affection. So those 3 items, mulas, very important. Krishna is our creator. We could not exist. Now just think that. We are existing. Why? Because of Krishna. That is his mercy. We may be suffering toothache or arthritis, but we are existing. Krishna has given us existence. Isn't that a matter for affection? Shouldn't we be, oh, thank you, Krishna. Just like the children, they love their mother and father. Oh, you have created me, mummy and daddy. So they love their parents. Of course, this is material, but the idea is there. So first is Ishvara, and then Sarva Shaktiman. We are the part and parcel of Krishna. We are not something separate. We are, Lord Chaitanya, Achincha Bhed Abhed. This person here is an expansion of Krishna. You are an expansion of Krishna. You are an expansion of Krishna. Your quality as a soul is non-different from Krishna. What a gift. You are created to enjoy loving reciprocation with Krishna eternally. Rasava saha. This is the 3rd point. In an ocean, bhakti rasamrita sindhu, in an ocean of rasa. So isn't that something we should be grateful for? We want to create priti purvakam in the center of our sadhana. So we should understand, Krishna, you've created me. You're the Ishvara. I'm part of your Shakti. You are maintaining me. We sometimes think, oh, I'm alive. But why are we existing? Sutre mani gana iva, Krishna explained. Everything is resting upon me like pearls are resting upon a thread, or neck beads are resting upon a thread. Our existence continues because of the grace of Krishna. It is not automatic. That is what they tell you in the materialistic education. Oh, there was a big bang and now it's all going on. Automatically. There's no supreme controller. All this nonsense. We are existing on the grace of Krishna. So, how much we should be thankful for Krishna. And then rasa. Sometimes, even myself, when I'm chanting, an offender like me, I feel rasa when I'm chanting. When we see the deity, we should not just look. Green. Today, green cloth. The backdrop is nice. like we're looking at a painting. Huh? We should, within the heart, offer Priti Purvakam. Oh Krishna, you are the creator. You are maintaining me. I am part of your expansions. Huh? You have created me to be your eternal loving servant. Huh? And then, like 4:11, Ye tamam prapadyante. If you approach Krishna with love, then Krishna will love you in return. If you approach like Kamsa, you will get a different reciprocation. Huh? So Krishna is waiting for you. So the secret of bhakti is that, to understand that we are able to control our consciousness. We can summon up through spiritual knowledge, and particularly the knowledge given in the Bhagavatam of the living entity and Krishna, and then love Krishna. This is the teaching of Lord Chaitanya. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya. So when we chant with Priti Purvakam, with loving aptitude. We don't think, Guru has given me 16 rounds to chant. I've got a headache. I want to go to sleep, but the temple commander's looking at me. No, we should conjure up bhava. We should develop ourselves by spiritual knowledge. That is Buddhi Yoga. That is Karma Yoga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So any question? Any question? Yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for your class. When I chant the holy name, I think I'm chanting because I need to purify myself.
You need to what?
When I chant the holy name, I think that I chant because I need to purify myself.
You need to purify yourself.
Yes, in the process of to purify my senses. I don't think that I'm doing it for the pleasure of the Lord.
No, you can offer your attempts. This is the whole point. Everything can be an offering when you have this Priti Purvakam. You are trying to purify yourself, right? Chetudapana marjanam, right? The first step of chanting is to purify the consciousness. So that attempt to purify your consciousness is your offering. Do you understand?
Yes.
Krishna consciousness is a matter of the soul, his attitude. We are in the material world because of an attitude problem. We go to the spiritual world when we awaken our true attitude. So everything can be offered to Krishna. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So first,
this microphone is not adjusted properly. There's too much bass. And you go ahead.
Oh, so first we think ourselves that we need to purify to come to the level of I'm going to chant because this gives pleasure to Krishna. This is
yes, it gives pleasure to Krishna.
But we don't think like that in a lower level. In a lower level, we are just.
What level? The child cannot walk properly, right? But still the parents love to see the child trying to walk. So the neophyte is very dear to Krishna. He is trying to understand Krishna. He's trying to perform sadhana. He's trying to get out of the material world. So Krishna is affectionate, pleased. Is that, I can't, the microphone's not clear. Is that your question?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. Don't think that pleasing Krishna is just for the Paramahamsa. Everyone can please Krishna. Now the Paramahamsa, the Siddha Bhakta, is on that, he's the Mahabhagavat. He's on the high platform. But we can all. It is just, as Prabhupada many times said, how long does it take to become Krishna conscious, Prabhupada? Prabhupada said, in one moment. You just understand that I'm going to perform all my activities as an offering to Krishna. It's not that I'm going to do sadhana, I'm going to get better, I'm going to learn the philosophy. Now I'm pleasing Krishna because I'm a Paramahamsa. Right from the beginning. Like the child. Child is pleasing to the parents, like I say, from the moment. Even the child is crying. The child cries, right? Is born and cries. Still the parents love the child. So you may consider, and we should be realistic about our level of Krishna consciousness, because then we can perform the right activity. But we should always remember that Krishna is within the heart. There's nothing between you and Krishna. Do you understand? Krishna and you are woven together. Sutri mani gana iva. It's not that Krishna's over there. Like sometimes you see the football player. They score a goal and they go, thank you, God. No, Krishna's within the soul. Everything is resting on Krishna. That's why you have to understand your position in relationship to the Supreme Lord, and you have to understand the Supreme Lord. And you have to live in that consciousness. And that is the final, that is perfection. There's nothing beyond that loving attitude towards Krishna and receiving love and giving love. There's nothing beyond that. The perfect devotees or great are the gopis, right? They love Krishna and Krishna loves them. Those in Vatsalya Bhav love in that mood, and Krishna reciprocates in that mood. So the sadhaka, Krishna reciprocates in that way. The Krishna, Prabhupada explained that the atheist is denying God. But then he would say, you can ask the atheist, who is giving you the intelligence to deny God? Krishna gives intelligence to the atheist. Krishna gives intelligence to those that want to approach him. Krishna gives intelligence to the thief. The thief is in the street thinking, I want to break into the bank. How can I do it? And the bank manager is in the bank thinking, how can I stop the thief breaking into the bank? So Krishna's job is very difficult. On one side, the thief is praying how to break in, and the bank manager is praying, how can I stop the break-in? So Krishna is reciprocating with everyone. Everything is resting upon Krishna. You are resting upon Krishna. This universe, the light, the electricity, the camera, everything is resting upon Krishna. Krishna is Ashraya. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate. So if you come to this realization, you will see Krishna everywhere. And then iti matva bhajanti mam. And then also Krishna, vasudeve savamiti. Right? The Gita. Sa mahatma sadulabha. Everything is Krishna. And then what does Krishna say? Mahatmanas tamam patha devim prakritim ashrita. So when you realize that everything is resting on Krishna, everything is the energy of Krishna, everything is connected to Krishna, then you naturally enter the spiritual energy. But when you see separation between yourself and Krishna, between the material energy and Krishna, then you're subjugated by ignorance and you remain in the material world. So Shravanam, hearing from the Shastra, hearing from the sadhu, hearing from the bona fide guru, it gives us this realization, Vasudeva Savamiti. That is enlightenment. At night you can't see anything. What is that? That is material life. If the sun comes up, you see everything. So the sun rises through shastric realization. Shastra chakshus. We see through the Shastra. The Acharyas give us knowledge through their commentary. Veda Vyas gives us knowledge through the Shastra. Chaitaguru gives us realization within the heart. And what is that realization? Vasudeva Savam Iti. Therefore, you are perfectly resting upon Krishna. Everything is Om Purnam Adap Purnamidam. Everything is a perfect arrangement. But through ignorance, we don't see Krishna. We see through materialism, or we see through globalism, or we see through Marxism, or we see through capitalism, all this nonsense, illusory interpretations of the material world. You understand? So you're thinking, when I'm doing purification, I'm not really pleasing Krishna. Of course you're pleasing Krishna, because you are doing that. You're trying to execute the order of the Guru. Mahat sevam doram aho vimuktes. So the connection to Krishna is through the order of the Guru, the bona fide Guru. Who is the bona fide Guru? Mahatma. He's realized Krishna. He is living conscious of Krishna. I think Prabhupada said there, right? I think the previous verse, one who controls the senses, but the mind rests upon sense enjoyment, is a pretender. Prabhupada said, right? It is better to be a sincere street sweeper than a fake guru. Bhaktisiddhanta writes that too. It is better to associate with materialistic people than to associate with fake spiritualists, because they will corrupt you. Do you understand the point? You're pleasing to Krishna. Now you're coming to class. Right? You're pleasing Krishna by coming to class. Right? The sages, they went to Namasharanya to perform yajna. They're pleasing Krishna. Sutta Goswami, he was explaining what Sukadeva Goswami said. And the sages, they're pleasing Krishna because they're hearing. And Sutta Goswami is pleasing Krishna because he's performing kirtan. After this class, we'll finish now. If you go to the temple, you'll be pleasing Krishna. Krishna will see you and say, oh, I know, what's your name? Huh? David. So Krishna may turn to Balaram and say, oh, look, I know him. His name is David. He's coming to see us. Why do you think he's smiling? Because he's pleased with you. Right? When you go to the deities, Krishna is not, oh, not him again. Krishna and Balaram, they're very happy. Oh, nice to see you all. This is bhakti. Loving reciprocation. Right? In Golok, everyone loves Krishna and all his devotees, and they get reciprocation in that way. And they live eternally in this ocean of loving rasa. So as soon as you are attempting to approach Krishna, you will get some rasa. What's that verse? Raso vajam rasopyasya param drisva nivartate. So don't think Krishna is in the future. Krishna is now. Krishna is here. Krishna is in your heart. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, thank you all very much. See you next Friday, hopefully. Unless we've all gone back to Golok. And then we'll have a nice time in Golok. Thank you all. I can't hear you. Huh? I can't hear because of the fans, the thundering. How can we go to Goloka? You just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. But it's very important to get Siddhanta. At the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, those who are lazy in understanding Siddhanta, their progress is very slow. So you must learn the Dashamula, you must understand Krishna. Then, all right, thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.